بقول سيدو إن عنا بيت كبير بيافا.
هذا كلام مزبوط.
طيب ليش إحنا مستكنين فيه؟
I know you are wondering why we are here. But for you to understand, I must tell you what my family went through.
مين أنت؟ أنا صاحب هاي الأرض وهذه بيارتي. احنا اتفقنا إنه نضل.
فكر بالولاد.
أنا بفكر بالأولاد منيرة، هذا بيتهم.
أصلاً مين منك كان يفكر إنه راح يصير اللي صار؟ وهيو عم بيصير.
نص الناس هربت، إذا كلنا هربنا مين بده يدافع عنا؟
إحنا من يافا، من هاي الأرض، هاي بلادنا، يوعك تنسى.
يافا راحت يابا، راحت.
الناس بتحكي عن اللي عملته سليم.
شو كنت بقدر أعمل؟ خفت عليك.
You wonder if I feel your pain? Do you feel ours?
We live yours.
إنسانيتك أيضاً مقاومة، هي الإشي الوحيد اللي ما في حدا بيقدر يسلبه منك.
طول ما البابا موجود ما بنخاف من إشي.
شو فايدتنا كأهل بس مش قادرين نحمي أولاد؟
Well, I have to admit that I was checking back, Cherien. You were on this podcast a few years ago, and I saw that I was late. So,
Oh, I can't believe you remember that.
I didn't. I just was I was watching the video, and trying to recall some of the. And I had noticed that I was apologizing on the outset. Not that I want you
How
to.
funny.
It's fine, perfectly
And now
fine.
here I am. I'm so sorry. It's actually, I had an interview right before this that went long, so my apologies.
Not at all. I'm glad they look, my hat's off to whoever was interviewing that they got to go a little long, because I can understand. That's understandable. So it's all right.
We started late because of technical difficulty, actually. So they
right.
they lost some time.
Okay. Well, I have to go, but thank you very much. No, I'm real glad to reconnect with you. And it's just so funny because you've made these remarkable films. I mean, all that's left of you is obviously it could be, I don't know if you may even have more like this under your belt ready to go. I don't know. But this is like, if you left filmmaking after this, I think you could be very proud of your career.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, trust me, there have been moments where I'm like, I might just have to retire now. Like, this movie was so challenging.
Well, I can't imagine. I mean, if we had all the time in the world, I'd want to talk about just the practical, points of how you make a film that's so epic, in some ways, certainly politically and emotionally, if not just staging all the scenes and there's skirmishes that go on, and there's just a nightmare. But which we should talk about, like how it is. How does that affect a Palestinian American to make a film that is so painful? And I want to let people know that watching it, as my girlfriend said, it should be mandatory viewing for everybody. I think so.
I mean, I think especially at this time in the world.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, I meant to ask you one question, which is, I can't imagine the Palestinian filmmaking community is super large. Do you know Sandor Kopti?
Oh yeah, Skandar, of course. I worked with his brothers. They were my line producers in Palestine.
On this film?
On this film.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, Tony and Gideus Kopti.
Oh, that's amazing. Anyway, I had him on recently. Just the timing was just what it was. It wasn't planned like that. But another amazing filmmaker.
Yeah, he's great. I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah. But I'm glad to have these conversations now. What was it? Let's start off, since I already sort of started asking. You moved to the States when?
I was actually the first in my family born in the States.
You are born here.
Yeah, I was born in the States, raised in a small town in Ohio, but we
Right.
returned often to Jordan and the West Bank, which is where my dad's from in Palestine.
Sure. But your entire family comes from that part of the Arab world. And
Mhm.
so what, but so it still has to be an incredibly complicated experience for you to make this particular story, right? I mean,
It was in many ways. I mean,
uh,
I think in some ways the story emerged out of my being a Palestinian raised in the diaspora because I was
yeah.
surrounded by people who just knew nothing about us. And I was also surrounded by media headlines that dangerously maligned and misrepresented us and dehumanized us. And I think it was really directly out of kind of recognizing that and noticing that as a teenager, I decided I wanted to become a filmmaker. I was really like, there were no authentic portrayals of us anywhere in film and
Wow.
television or news media. And that my need, my desire to become a filmmaker came out of that deep need to create authentic portrayals and put them out there to try to kind of change the story, change the narrative, you know? I think this film is like, in some ways, the culmination of that. You know, I started out with a very, I don't know, let's say, I don't know. Amreka is like a very, funny, buoyant Palestinian American story. It was inspired by my family's experience
Hmm.
in a small town in Ohio during the first Gulf War. And this movie takes on, quite a more serious collective trauma that all Palestinians have, no matter where you are, no matter where you're raised. And it looks at how we are shaped by that collective trauma and by our family trauma over time, how our identities and our lives are really shaped by that. And I think it was something, it was definitely a story I always wanted to tell, again, because I was like surrounded by people who knew nothing about it. And I thought, well, that's strange. Why don't people know what happened to us? Why don't people know what happened to us in 1948? And
It's almost worse than what happened.
well,
That
well,
people that
the
it gets like
denial,
it gets
absolutely.
brushed on. I mean, if similarly to
Absolutely.
Armenian genocide, um,
Yeah.
because there's an imperative, right? There must be an imperative of why the story shouldn't be told to, it should be taught. There has to be a
100%.
reason, right? A bigger,
Yeah. And the denial of our lived reality and the lived reality of our ancestors, our parents, our grandparents, like it's almost more painful. Like the fact that we're not allowed to even have our experience and that talking about it at times it can be very taboo depending on where you are, that we're not even supposed to talk about what happened in 1948, and that talking about our lived experience somehow threatens another people, which is absolutely not the case. Yeah, so this film kind of came out of, I feel like, the culmination of everything I've wanted to do. And after making my first two features, I felt ready to take on something bigger.
right? Interesting, like because that and the May and the summer being a second, maybe
That's right.
period that about a Palestinian American, but and lighter also. Obviously, there's a great amount of comedy in
That's
that
right.
film, and I understand why it kind of humanizes Palestinians or Palestinian slash whatever you're wherever you're in the diaspora, but it humanizes you to see, oh, these people are funny, they have sense of humor, what and have full lives and are sexy and intelligent, everything, and now you're ready to take on this particular subject matter. Could it have been made any other time, like than now with the war and
Yeah, I mean, the timing is kind of crazy. I started thinking about the story back in 2014,
yeah, yeah,
Um, Gaza has been bombarded many times throughout history, and 2014 was one of those years where Gaza was being bombarded. And funny enough, that was part of what compelled me to really begin thinking about telling the story. And I took 5 years to think about it before I even started writing it. Like for me, I needed to wait until I'd made two features. And I was exploring identity in those features as well, but I was doing
Surely.
so from a lighter perspective, from a more diasporic perspective. And with this third feature, I decided to go straight to the heart of Palestine and make a movie essentially telling the story of how Palestinians became refugees. And, a story that contextualizes how we got to where we are today. Of course, I had no idea that things were going to blow up to the level that they are at now. I had absolutely no way of knowing that.
Right,
I mean, I
right, right.
started writing this screenplay in 2020 after 5 years of developing the story, of really sitting with it, letting it marinate. I developed all the characters. I came up with the entire structure of the film before I even sat down to start writing. And I
Amazing.
don't normally write that way. I sat down to write and I knew everything about the story. I knew my characters really well.
Yeah. Wow.
And then I started prepping the film in the summer and fall of 2023 in Palestine.
Wow. So it just was on some level perfect timing in a way, because people can see this film now and see these fully realized human beings, and relate to them on a personal level. One of the things you
Yeah,
mentioned, of course, you mentioned that things you want to tell the story from 1948, but there's even a preface to that, which your film brings up, which is before um, Israel as the Jewish state started in 1940, that actually it had been also colonized essentially or
right,
by the British
right.
for right since 36. So the story in a way even begin the pain and the history of the Palestinian plight starts in 1936.
Well,
You have a
absolutely. I mean, the
prequel
story
to
goes
make.
back even further. You can talk
Sure.
about the Balfour Declaration, or you can talk,
Uh-huh.
definitely it's a long and involved history. And the British are quite implicated, absolutely. And Anne-Marie Jassid made a movie called Palestine 36 that does explore that exact, period right before the Nakba, which I think is also super important to know and understand in order to really understand how we got to where we are today. In a way, the two films kind of work perfectly together, to really give
Yes.
you the
Yeah.
broader context that you need to kind of understand where we're at, for
Yeah.
sure.
Um, I should have mentioned this from the top. All That's Left of You, written and directed by Cherien Dabis, is opening January 9th in New York, LA, and San Francisco, and then opening up wider on January 16th. And I guess I'll get this information, which theaters in particular, but I'm urging people to go and see the film. It's a very rich film, and will really give people that feel like they can't connect with this story a real way in, and see that. I was thinking that what went on in 1948 was just if you could just create a bigger recipe for disaster from the very beginning, this is the way you do it. It
Right.
was never going to succeed, and everybody's a loser in this. There are bigger losers in the sense of there's people that suffered more and
Right.
lost more, and this
Right.
film shows is a great example of that. But there was nobody who was going to come out of this, as we see. It's just it's extremely hard to keep optimistic, um, around the subject. How do
Yeah, I
you?
think especially with the levels to which it is escalated now. I mean, I think one of the things the movie shows you, I mean, look, the movie, there's the macro in the film and there's the micro in the film. There's the
Yes,
macro
yes.
historical and political events that really take a back seat. They are the backdrop of the film, the background of the film. And they're there to show how this family is impacted by them because the family is the heart of the film. And what I do in the film is really explore the micro, how a man's identity is shaped by the dispossession of his family,
Hmm.
how relationships are shifted forever by an encounter with a
With
group of
yeah,
Israeli soldiers. These are the things that I was really interested in, was kind of showing how Palestinians have been impacted over time by all of these political events that we've just been reading about in the headlines for decades, but that people don't really have an emotional understanding of
everybody can
what.
relate. I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
interrupted you. I
that's
was
okay.
just going to say every father can relate to that imperative of wanting to provide and to keep his family safe.
That's
And
right.
when they, right, every father can relate to that, and every mother.
Right.
Uh,
Absolutely. And that was really my goal, was to tell a story about how human beings are changed by, these kinds of events, by history, how history impacts a family over time.
you know, last time you were on, we talked. I got you on all the murders. Was it the
That's right.
only
Only
murders in
murders.
the building?
Yeah.
Which you are. Oh, by the way, I left out another important component, which is that you are also an actor and that you are one of the main cast members of All That's Left of You, and where you play Hanan,
That's
and
right.
who's the matriarch, I guess, or the mother in the film, and but you also have worked in Hollywood quite a bit, and then I bet I'm assuming that's how you might have gotten such executive producers as Javier Bardem and Mark Ruffalo. These names are in the press information. I'm not just trying to, you know, I don't know, like impress anybody, but that's pretty great. Those are two people everybody respects. How did that come about?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a huge fan of them as human beings, obviously, as actors as well, but really as human beings.
Yeah,
I mean, they've always stood up for humanity, and they care deeply about this particular cause. So, it came about because we at some point, after our world premiere, realized that
which was where?
our world premiere was at Sundance earlier
Oh,
this year. Yes, in 2025, I should say, because by the time this comes out, it's going to be 2026. So our premiere was at Sundance in 2025, and we had the hottest slot of the festival. It was a packed theater. It was very emotional. You could hear
yeah.
people sobbing in the theater. Amazing standing ovation, like just very, very powerful reception. We got great reviews, and it just became clear shortly after Sundance that no major distributor or streamer was going to pick us up, that people were, quote, afraid of the subject matter. And that for me pointed to a larger issue of what I feel is systemic racism towards Palestinians. And, I really thought, and my team and I kind of put our heads together, and we thought, like, we need to really try to figure out how we can elevate the profile of this film so that it's not just ghettoized and, discriminated against because of its identity. And so that was one of our strategies, was thinking, okay, who can we bring on of note that can help us, who has a really big platform and can help us get the word out about this film, because we think it's really important that people see this movie right now in the world. And, Javier and Mark were the first two people who came to mind.
I know I said it earlier. If this is the last thing you made, you would have a career to be proud of. But I'm hoping this won't be. And
Me too.
oh yeah, I'm sure you have a stake in this as well. And yeah, just keep on telling stories. You're a very talented storyteller.
Thank
And
you so much.
yeah, you're welcome. And I look forward to definitely seeing more from Cherien Dabis and having you back. And if I'm still doing this, it just
I hope you
keeps
are.
going and going and going. I don't know. But and I want to show. I want people. I don't know if I got to talk to Jessica about this because we have a number of. I'm up in the Hudson Valley now. I think
Oh,
I was there
nice.
when we talked last time.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of places up here that I don't know if they're planning on screening it yet, but I think that they would love this. All That's Left of You.
Oh,
Um,
that would
you
be
know,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a real theater going audience up here. It's shocking.
That's great.
Up in the Hudson
Where
Valley. Well,
exactly
it's
are you?
the arts. I live in a town called Athens, which is directly across the river from Hudson, New York. But I
Okay.
work in a radio station, which is where I am now, in a town Red Hook, which is
Oh,
just
yeah.
north of Rhinebeck and near Bard College, that area, in the
That's right.
Dutchess County.
Yeah.
And but there's really like, it's so arts centric here. So I'm sure this is already in the works. I mean, they're going to show it up here. I'm sure. Yeah,
That's
Upstate
great. I
Films.
mean,
We have a chain called, yeah.
what's that?
I'm sorry. I was going to say there's a group of films, theaters called Upstate Films, which shows also a lot of art films and films with such progressive themes and political themes, and so I think it'd be
That's
perfect.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
I'll
the show.
definitely check in about that. Make sure that happens.
Yeah, we'll get you up here maybe. But anyway, thank you so much, and have a
Thank you.
great theatrical run, and take care
Thank
of
you.
yourself. And good to talk to you.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you.
Nice to see you again.
Same here. Same here. Thank you.